Okay guys, this is Jacquard compressed charcoal, the charcoal that I blend with Jacquard compressed charcoal. This is the assorted grey. This one has charcoal sticks of different tones, of different grey tones, shades of grey rather. So this is how I make my shade. Now the the shades of grey you have here ranges from black, all black, to this, to this, to this, and to the lightest. This is the whitest. Now if I'm actually going to make my first layer, I'm going to use this. Now how I use it, I use a sandpaper. I shade this. If I want to get the dust of charcoal powder of any stick that I want to use, I get a sandpaper, shade it on it, then thereafter I get the charcoal dust of the particular gray I want to use. So if I'm actually making use of my first layer, I'm actually going to use this, get the charcoal powder, then this should be the second layer, third layer, fourth, then the darkest. Now okay, these are the brushes that I use. This is my hardest brush. It is very hard. I use it to get my darkest tone. Now this is a little bit hard. Now this one is the smallest brush in the soft grade. This is very soft. So they all have different sizes. This sizes go all through to the largest. This is the largest. I normally use this to get my first layer. It is very, very soft. You can see it's very, very soft. And this is the largest, very, very soft as well. So this is it. If I want to apply this, the darkest tone, to a very, very dark place, I use my soft brush. Then if the darkness is a little bit mild, I use this one. But if I want to apply this, which is the lightest, I use my softest brush, which is the largest one here. I mostly use this one to get the first layer, depending on the area that I'm shading. Assuming the area is a small area, maybe probably the eye, and I want to get the first layer, I can use this one, because this one is small and also soft. Okay, I am actually using my softest brush to get the first layer with the lightest charcoal. I've already gotten the charcoal dust by scraping it on a sandpaper. Now you can see little or no shading, but the shading is actually there. If you gradually do it gently, you see it to be coming out little, small by little by little. Now this is my softest brush, but because the area that I'm shading is small, I have to use a smaller one, but it's still soft. I hope you understand. So I am doing my first layer now. So I am still shading my first layer. I'm still adding the first layer with the softest brush. So I am going to fast forward this place now to the next phase, so that we'll save a little bit of time. Okay, now you see I've changed my brush to a, a harder one now, but not the hardest of my brushes. This brush is harder than the first brush that I used. Now you can see the difference in tone. Now you can call this one the second layer. If you look at the left, you see the first layer. Look at the right, you see the second layer. Now I might have also have changed my charcoal dust to the next, gray shade of gray, to the next darker one, and I'm applying with a much harder brush. So you see the difference now. This makes it easier and will make your work more even. You can see the first layer, you can see the second layer. So this is it. Okay, so I'm going to fast forward here right now to the next understandable phase. Okay, here I am using a chip of my darkest compressed charcoal. I got a chip of it and attached it to the other edge of my brush, attached it there, so that I can, the compressed charcoal gives me a soft and smooth blend whenever I use it to get maybe an outline. Otherwise I can also use my charcoal pencil to do this, but I prefer my compressed charcoal. Now if you're observant, I'm now using the hardest of my brush. Initially I told you that if you want to blend the darkest of your dark, you have to use a very hard brush. Now I'm using a very hard brush to get an even blend right now. So I'm blending with the hardest brush because that place looks like a shadow from the reference, so I'm using it. If you use a soft brush here, you won't get the desired effect. So I am still adding layers here. It's getting a little bit darker. You can see this is it. You can call this the third layer. It's getting darker. So this is how I gradually blend. You take your time to do it. You don't rush. If you rush it, you spoil it. This will take you time, and with much time and much patience, you get the desired result. So this is it. I am adding a second layer to the left. So I'll gradually build the layers little by little. I add and add till I get the desired result. Now I actually learned a lot from watching Kelvin Okafor. Initially when I started drawing newly, I usually jump to any layer that I want, that I just observe with my eye. I don't follow the due process, which is layering. But recently I've been doing so and I've been getting good results. So this is it. This is actually how I go about it, obeying the rule of layers and obeying the rule of tones. Now, getting a hyperrealistic drawing requires you to know about proportion. If you don't really know about it, you can use grid lines, but make sure your outlines are very accurate. Now you have to understand tonal contrast, which is what I have been talking about. You have to understand layering, then also detailing. But most of us jump tonal contrasting to detailing, which which sometimes gives us very detailed work, but the work lacks tones and form because we don't obey the tonal contrasting. But you understanding tonal contrasting will make your works very nice. It's a very long journey, and I'm still getting around myself around with it. But hopefully, with practice, we will all succeed. So one thing you have to understand here is while applying the layers, initially the drawing might look flat, so I just wanted to not get discouraged because before it takes form it takes time, and you have to get the right um, toning for it to take form. So initially, when you are doing the shadings, the the drawing might look sloppy and very flat, but I just encourage you to keep on doing and obeying the rule of layering, following it gradually. As you can see now, I'm actually doing something very dark on the right side with my hard brush. This is actually the darkest on the lips now, so um, I'll definitely add more layers on it. So that's just it. Right now it doesn't really look like a lips, though it's actually taking form. You actually know where the light source is coming from and where the shadow is. The shadow is at the right hand side while the light is majorly falling on the left side, precisely from the top. So this is it, and the shadows will now fall in between the lips. Now I'm still going to create a very dark tone in between the lips, but that will be with the chip of my compressed charcoal or with a charcoal pencil. So this is it. I didn't jump directly to the darkest layer. I gradually followed the process. So that is why I'm actually getting this kind of tone right now. And there's an even blend. You won't actually know where the boundaries of the tones are. Though you might actually be seeing a boundary right now, but I will later blend it and it will be very even. They will blend into each other. And this following tonal contrasting and layering will actually make you to avoid smudges and actually make you to avoid mistakes. Even if you make mistakes, they will be very minute. Understand? So this is it. I'm using my charcoal pencil to get the darkest tone, the line in between, the shadow in between. So I'm using a charcoal pencil to get it. The charcoal pencil I'm using, I don't actually know the name, but I'll advise the best charcoal pencil I've ever used is Generals. Generals is the best, so I advise you get them. Those are the best. So I'm blending with my hard brush to get an even blend. So you can see I've created a much more dark tone on the right side of the lips. I'm still adding darker tones. So this is it. I'll gradually blend them to be even. So this is how I do my layering. I'm still using my dark brush, because if you use a soft brush here, it won't make much effect. So this is it. I still want to add, there's this frustration we artists get whenever we are, making drawings. Now, this drawing is not actually and won't be my best. That is one notion or motive I actually tell myself. When I'm making a recent drawing, I'll tell myself this will not be my best drawing, because as a creative, we learn every day. So you don't expect yourself to perform best when you are actually trying something new. When you're actually trying something you've not done before for the first time, you don't expect your best result. Now it will actually put you in the entry level. Now the more you do it, the more you learn. The more you do it, the more you unlearn, and the more you have experience. So I'll just advise you follow the rules and practice more. So don't expect much, so that you won't get disappointed at the end. That is one of the problems we creatives have. Before you start a drawing, you already imagined it to be exactly as Kelvin's or Arranges, without actually putting in the necessary rules. You don't even want to know whether you're actually trying for the first time. So all I'm saying is, if you're actually doing it for the first time, normally you are not going to be that perfect, but as time goes on, as you try on doing it, you will definitely arrive at it. So that's just one thing you have to have in mind for us beginners. So I encourage us to draw more, because you can actually testify to what I'm saying. Go back to your early drawings, go back to your drawings 3 years, 2 years back, a year back. You actually see the difference. You've actually gone further than how you started. So that is just it. When you are trying something for the first time, don't expect to be Leonardo da Vinci or Picasso. You definitely have to make mistakes, and it's normal. But some of us want to jump into the expert realm while doing it for the first time. So guys, this is where this video is going to end for now. Hopefully in my next video I will explain more, and I hope you guys have followed and understood what I mean by layering and tonal contrasting. So if you have any question, you can ask me. I will be glad to answer. Okay, thank you very much for following, and thank you very much. Yeah, keep drawing.